wait for my slides to show up here. I thought of an idea earlier. If anyone has a doctorate and you ever do a talk, you should have the person introducing you say, "Is there a doctor in the house?" And then you get to come up and be like, "Yes, and I have slides."
Do you have a doctorate?
So I don't. So feel free to take that idea. All right. Is that on? We're going to work on some technical difficulties here, but really quick. I'm Evan Hamilton. I'm head of community at UserVoice. We make customer service and customer feedback tools. Probably you've been on a UserVoice forum before, even if you didn't realize it. So our feedback product is a forum where people go, they post ideas for your company, build an Android app, make the login easier. They vote for them, and then you respond to them. About, I think it might be 2 years ago now, we launched a help desk platform. And so that's, you have an issue, you go to the company support page, you write in, you say, "Hey, I have an issue." We handle all of that, messaging, the response pane, all of that. So this is important to where we're going. The autoplay appears to still be on.
You might just have to fight it.
Okay. This will be fun then. Stop, data, stop. So everyone's customers are wrong and their data is lying. And that's what I want to talk about today. Now that sounds really scary, and I'm sorry, but it's going to be okay. So, oh geez, okay, there we go. So data, I'm just going to stare at this so I can see if it flips forward. Data. Data's great, right? We're all really into data. Data is fantastic. Big data, smart data, social data. This is the future. Okay, maybe we should, you want to just, So we've all been told that data is great. Data is fantastic. It is the future. Data is going to take us where we need to go. That's cool, but data is sometimes wrong. I was on a panel at Developer Week earlier on Monday, and Bill Magnuson from AppBoy had a great quote. He said, "Analytics are a Band-Aid because we can't watch all our customers." And it's true. I mean, if we were somehow like, we had superpowers, we had like 1,000 eyes on our face like a fly, which is terrifying, we would watch all of our customers and say, "Oh, look, I see what he's doing. We should fix that." Or we'd say, "Oh, look at this guy, he's using our product all wrong. We need to make that clear." But we can't do that, so we use data as a little bit of a crutch. Thank you to our heroic tech people here.
You should have it.
Awesome. Data, cool. So data doesn't tell the whole story, and it can be really dangerous because of that. So here's my embarrassing example from UserVoice's history. A couple of years ago, some folks who are no longer with us, they're not dead, they don't work for us anymore, decided to optimize the UserVoice homepage. And they decided, hey, we want to have a carousel. It's going to flip in and out, there's going to be a bunch of different things, so much information, it's going to be amazing. So they made this. And this is a carousel. It is that. I think this is some sort of clip art. It's something. And they looked at the data and they said, "Oh my God, look at this. The carousel, way more people click through with the carousel. This was our webpage before. Now all these people are clicking through to learn more about our product." That's awesome, right? Well, we dug a little deeper. Turns out people were clicking through, but they weren't actually converting. So here's how many people were converting to customers with our old web page, and this is with the carousel. So if we go back, what was really happening is people were saying, "What? I don't even know what this means. Learn more." "Okay, now I know what it means. No thanks." So the data was lying to us in that we saw this data that looked good. Hey, that's awesome, but it actually wasn't good. Here's another example. You may have heard of a company called Groupon, a little tiny company. And a couple years ago, they said, hey everyone, check us out. Q1 2011, we're going to make more money than we've ever made before. It's going to be huge. People invested tons of money. They're super excited. Well, what actually happened is that they operated at a 62 million operating loss in Q12 2011. And so this was sort of intentional. This is intentional data being confusing. They were saying, we're going to make all this money, but they weren't factoring in, we also do a lot of refunds, a lot. I'm sure we've all tried to get a refund from Groupon before. And so the data said success and actually total failure. So people then, let's talk about people. I'm a community manager, so I know a lot of people who say it's all about the people. It's about empathy, it's about gut, it's about making people happy. People don't tell the whole story. So just like data doesn't, people don't. Here's another UserVoice example. We have a lot of votes on our UserVoice forum, people asking for their support tickets. They want to be able to let their customers see the status of that ticket. So if their customer writes into support and says, hey, I have an issue, they want that customer to get something like this, which is our competitor, with this number here, and they can click that and they can go see the status and additional comments, etc. So we thought, well, okay, I mean, I guess we should build it. People are asking for it. So we reached out to all these people who voted for it and said, tell us more about why you want this. And what they told us was pretty telling. Sorry for these people. I'll try and turn to you a little more. I'll go over here for a minute.
Thank you.
So they said things like something they can reference easily if they don't receive a quick response. Common issue here is that a client posts an issue and we haven't fixed it a few days later. Once the user starts wondering why nobody responds. So it became very clear to us that the people asking for this weren't responding to their customer support tickets. We want this feature so when we do bad support, people can see what's going on with their ticket. Sorry if that's you. But to us, that was very clearly, okay, we're not going to build this. Because this is a feature for people who don't do good support, and we build tools for people who do good support. So people told us one thing, the truth was a little bit deeper. And there's always more context. Are these paying users? Or are these people who have been on your free plan for 5 years? Are these people using your product in the intended way? We had somebody who was using our forum software to name their baby. It's really cute, but he was asking for features. He was like, I don't want to call it ideas, I want to call it names. And we're like, yeah, well, we're not baby naming software, so sorry. Are they even using your main features? Maybe they don't even know really what your product does. Are they early adopters? Are they Robert Scoble? You shouldn't be building for Scoble. Scoble uses every product for a month and then ditches it. Early adopters like shiny new things, and it's cool and it's good to have them come through and kick in the tires, but oftentimes they're not people who will ever convert to a long-time user. Here's another people not telling the whole story. So about 3-4 years ago, we got all these requests for our feedback forum, which is we want people to be able to sign in with OpenID, remember that? Google Apps, Twitter, Facebook Connect. We're going to log in with everything. So we thought, okay, well, sure. That makes sense. So we built this monstrosity. You can sign in, you can see how long ago this was that both Yahoo and MySpace are on here. And there's a button here, you can get to more. So we were like, great, we've solved the problem. Look, you can sign in with all these, or you can sign in with your UserVoice account. Well, people started saying, your login's confusing. Why are there all these options? I just want to log in. We're like, well, what do you want, people? Like, make up your minds. And we talked to people and we dug a little bit deeper again, past what they were telling us to what they were really saying. So here's a great example. They're saying they don't want to keep track of yet another online identity. So if you're using a feedback forum for your product, your customers don't want to have signed into your product and then go to your feedback forum and have to register for another service. That's annoying, right? So the solution wasn't actually sign in with other services and make this. It was this. You just enter your email address. We do have Facebook and Google there, but you use your email address. You don't register, you don't set up a password. You can if you want, but for giving feedback, most people don't need that. And we did this, people loved it, no complaints. We had found what the actual problem was. So, your data is lying, your customers are wrong. What do you do? And by the way, I love Star Wars. I just wanted to cover both. I knew you had Star Wars covered, so I wanted to get Star Trek. So data still has to be interpreted. Most of the time, data doesn't actually tell you what's going on. It gives you a hint. Data is telling you trends. It's telling you, hey, look at this. This is interesting. So you still have to interpret it. And stories can lead you astray. So somebody tells you a story. If you just take it at face value, that may not be accurate. So you need to combine data and customer stories, and that is absolutely the sweet spot. Use the data to show you something's going on. There's something interesting here. There's something I need to figure out. And then use customer stories and dig into those customer stories to figure out what that data was actually telling you. So here's a success story. About 3 years ago again, we were looking at UserVoice feedback, which is the product we had at the time. We were saying, man, after a year, people just drop off. Like, they stop using their account, they delete it. This is not real data, by the way, so don't send this to tips at TechCrunch. It's not real. But it looked approximately like this. And so what do we do? You know, should we build more features? Should we make it harder to quit? Should we send a bunch of emails to people telling them to use our product? Should we fix the sign-in form? And instead of just diving into those things, what we did is we went out and talked to customers. I'm going to cross again. We talked to a bunch of customers and we said, what's the deal? Please just give us 5 minutes of your time, tell us why you quit so we can make our product better. And they told us. And what we found out is that people started using us early on in their startup cycle. And after about a year, either they were dead, their startup ended, which I thought would be a creepier slide, so I didn't go with that, or they were growing up. And so once they got to a year, if they were successful, they were hiring a community manager, they were hiring head of support, they were hiring product managers. And those people came in and said, this UserVoice tool is interesting, but it's not a customer service platform. I don't know really what to do with it, and it often just kind of got pushed away. It wasn't that it was bad, but it was that it didn't fit what they were coming in to do. So what we realized we needed to do is build the help desk element of our product. Contact support alongside give feedback. This isn't what we originally planned to do. In fact, for a long time we said, no, we're not going to do this. Like, that's not what we're building. I'm sure you all know this. You have this idea, my product is X. And you're like, I'm not going to sway from that. But sometimes you realize, oh, maybe it's X and Y. And so we built it. We built this help desk platform. And absolutely, customers stay a lot longer now because they say, oh, great, this is our customer communication tool. It does support, it does feedback. This can be used by community managers, customer service folks, product managers. It has a place in the ecosystem. And that was because we saw the data, people were dropping off, and then we talked to customers and found out why. So don't get lost in the data rat hole. It's really easy to lose track of your creative mind and just look at data and be like, oh, look, this color blue does better than this color blue. Don't chase 1% when you can get 15%. So I know so many people who are like, hey, guess what? Did an A/B test the other day. 0.5% more people click through. And that's great, but probably your product, your website, they're not that good yet. You want to be chasing 15% change. And once you get to be Google or whomever, Groupon, well, maybe not Groupon, then you can chase 1% changes. But right now you want to try big, crazy tests that are going to get you 15%. You want to do A/B, artists formerly known as Prince tests. So sure, test little things, test the color of your buttons. That's great. But then try something totally out of left field. Totally different, something crazy. Dropbox, their homepage was a video and a download button. It's crazy, right? Our website's way more complicated. I'm sure yours is too. We should try this. I should go back to the office and make them try this. Try the simplest homepage you can think of. Maybe it'll do better. Maybe it won't, but this probably doesn't take that long. So try big things, follow the data, follow up with the customer stories. So lastly, here's my tips, tricks, and tools. I know that not everyone here is a huge company that can do giant tests. We're not a huge company, we're 25 people, we can't do giant tests either. We do what we can. So at the very least, set up Google Analytics. Actually, I'm going to skip to my bottom bullet point. Even Bitly links, do something, try and get some data. I did a test the other day with Bitly links because we didn't have analytics for this very tiny, granular part of our product. And rather than spending a bunch of time figuring that out, I just threw some Bitly links in to get some basic data. That can help push you in the right direction. Maybe then you can go to your team and say, hey, let's do some more in-depth analysis. If you want to get a little more advanced, do something like Mixpanel. They're super cool. And there's lots of things you can do that don't involve designing a whole new homepage or a whole new product. One of my favorites is the old fake button trick. So you're thinking about, say, putting a calendar feature into your app. Put a big old calendar button in your app. When people click it, it goes to a page that says, sorry guys, we haven't built this yet, but thanks for telling us you wanted it. And look at how many people click it. And if 25% of your users click it, might be worth doing. If 1% do, you're not going to build that. Super easy to do. Test with segments. So if you're worried about, well, I don't want to put a fake button in the app for all these paying users and have them get mad, roll it out to a percentage. Facebook is the master of this, right? They roll it out to like some random town in Idaho, and then TechCrunch posts about it, but it's okay. One suggestion somebody told me the other day is test with your free users. So if you're scared about upsetting your paid users, go to the free users and roll out a feature to them and see how they react. If you lose them, it sucks, but they're not paying you money. Talk to customers constantly. So please, if you have a month where you're not talking to a customer, you are failing. I'm sorry. Your customers are who are paying you money or who are generating revenue for you. You need to be talking to them all the time. And you need to build this into your processes. So if you're rolling out a new feature, you've got a new feature idea, show it to at least one customer. Talk to at least one person who has asked for it or complained about something related. If you're rolling out a big feature, you should talk to a lot of customers. Before we built that help desk, we literally, mainly me, I talked to literally like 50 customers, like full on like 20-minute phone conversations to understand what they needed. And if I hadn't done that, wouldn't have been a success. So take the time. I know you have a lot to do. We all do. I need to go answer emails, my phone in like 5 minutes, but take the time. And lastly, I'll throw it out there. UserVoice is a great tool for talking to your customers. Feel free to talk to me about that later. A couple other great tools were mentioned earlier. So that's it. I'm Evan. I have 3 PSs. I'm going to skip the second one, actually, because apparently there's already a meetup group, which is awesome. No, you guys have one. Nadia's telling me to do it, so I will. So the first one is I'm going to hand out some feedback forms. I like to listen to my customers. Today, you are my customers. You are listening to me. Hopefully, I did a good job. Let me know. They have a little tear-off part at the bottom, which is a free pass or a free code to go to our UserVoice Summit, which is next month, which talking about basically how to listen to your customers. My PPS is we do a monthly product manager breakfast. It's free. It's just sort of a discussion group, a lot like this. You should come, talk to me. And lastly, 2:45, we will have the UserVoice ice cream bike here. So leave some space in your stomach. Thank you guys so much. I think I have like 4 minutes for questions. So. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how you went about actually setting up the phone calls and what that process is like to actually set up the phone calls and the face-to-face? What do you do?
Yeah, great question. The question was, how did we set up phone calls? Yeah. How did we set up phone calls to talk to customers? That's a good question. I'm trying to remember. I think I've like blocked it out of my memory because it was like so much work. We have a CRM that we had built, and really we just went in, we looked at either customers who had churned, so hey, this company's still alive but they're not using us, what's the deal? Or just companies who we knew were sort of our target audience. And then if we didn't have their phone number, which we usually don't, we sent them an email and said, hey, can I have 5-10 minutes of your time? I'm just really trying to make our product better for folks like you. And that works really well, just explaining like, hey, I'm trying to make your life easier. And then you keep it short for them. We usually give the new feature to that beta tester, the person we're talking to, for free. We don't lead with that, but we do that afterwards just to be nice to them. Yeah?
Do you find that there's a big difference between the feedback that comes in from people who come to a UserVoice forum and actively give you feedback because they want you to know what you think versus people that you reach out to that really want to know?
So the question is there a difference in feedback that's posted on a feedback forum versus people that we seek out? Yes and no. I mean, again, people will post, so I forgot to say the thing I like to say earlier, so thank you. People often propose bad solutions to real problems. And so feedback forums are really useful in that you know there's a problem. somebody posts, hey, you guys need to let me sign in via Facebook, that may not actually be the right solution. That may be them trying to make your life easier. They're like, oh, just do Facebook login, it'll be great. And then you get that horrible login screen I showed you. But they have shown you that there's a problem, so you go talk to them and get more information. I think the people you reach out to directly, you might get to that story faster, but it's harder to find those people, digging through your CRM, figuring out who qualifies. So all the time we will look on our feedback forum, see that people are asking for something like tracking the tickets, which I mentioned earlier, and send a message to them and say, hey, can we spend 5 minutes, or will you write me a paragraph as to why you need this? So either way, it's about digging down to that core problem they have.
Real quick UserVoice question. I work in healthcare. Is UserVoice HIPAA compliant?
Is UserVoice HIPAA compliant? I'm almost positive it is. Our sales guys will know. If you talk to me afterwards, I will make sure to answer that for you.
So when you had a bunch of people asking for the support ticket tracking, right, you decided not to develop that feature. How did you tell them?
We actually haven't yet, so hopefully none of them are here. Good question. So when we decided not to build the support ticket tracking feature, how did we tell people? I mean, the way we do that is we use our UserVoice forum where you can actually respond to these ideas and send an email out to everyone who voted for them. And we'll say, honestly, here's why we're not building it. We totally understand if that makes us not the app for you. You should go somewhere else. We want you to be happy. But the reason is that we're building an app around responding to people quickly and providing a high level of support. And we feel that this feature isn't really enabling that. And some people will be mad, but I've written blog posts about this. People love to know something. So if you tell them why, even if they disagree, they're like, well, thanks for telling me, instead of never responding or just saying, no, we're not building it. So, honesty. I have like 0 seconds. You.
From the user perspective, I've found that communicating the value of the change to the company has been really helpful. I use a tracking software that only bills quarter-hour increments. And so I wrote to them and explained to them how much money I lost today, what that added up to by the end of the week, by the end of the month. Why was I using the product? We got to change.
That's awesome. Yeah, always good to find out what is the result of the pain that a customer is experiencing. Is it just that it's annoying, they have to do a couple extra steps, are they losing money? Is it just unworkable for them? So I'm out of time. Thank you guys so much, and thank you to Product for having me.